Hello there, fellow math enthusiasts. Mrs. Delzati here. Today we're going to go ahead. We are going to review solving systems of equations. Now, in algebra, you learned that there was 4 different ways to go ahead and to solve a system. We could go ahead and we could graph it on a coordinate plane. So graphing was our first one. We also use substitution. We used elimination. And then some of you may have gone ahead and learned matrices. Now, the ones that we go ahead and we focus a lot on in geometry is the use of substitution and elimination, okay? Elimination is the one that we're going to go ahead and we're going to review today. Now, I have this all drawn out for you step by step exactly what it is that we want to do. All right, the first thing we want to do is we want to put both equations into standard form. That means the x's and the y's are on one side and the numbers are on the other. So if I look at this first one, I have the 4x, I have the 9y, I have that is equal 9. Okay, and yes, it is a negative 4x. A 9y is equal to 9. But if I'm looking on the second equation, notice the y is on the other side of the equation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 6y on both sides, and I'm going to rewrite that equation. I have 2x minus 6y is equal to a negative 12. Now I have my first equation and I have my second equation. And typically we're going to see that we stack them one on top of the other because then we want to be able to pick a variable and make sure that the coefficients are the same number but they have opposite signs. So if we take a look at this first equation, I have a negative 4x, I have a 9y. My second equation, I have a 2x and a negative 6y. I don't have opposite coefficients right now, but I could go ahead, I could make them opposite coefficients by multiplying this second equation through by a 2. So watch what happens when we do that. I have my first equation, I have negative 4x plus 9y is equal to 9. And then my second equation, if I multiply that through by a 2, I'm going to put it right underneath. I have 4x minus 12y is equal to a negative 24. On my x's, I have the same number. I have opposite signs. Okay, these are what we call opposite coefficients. Because the next thing that we want to do in step 3 is we want to go ahead and we want to add those two equations together. Notice what happens to the x's. The x's go ahead, they cancel out. I have 9y then minus 12y, or plus a negative 12y, which will give me negative 3y. And then that's equal to, well, 9 plus a negative 24 is going to give me a negative 15. So I added them together, and now I want to go ahead, I want to continue to solve for that remaining variable. Well, to do that, I would divide both sides by a negative 3. And I'm going to see that I get y to be equal to 5. Well, once I have one of the variables, I can go ahead, I can use that variable to figure out what the other variable is by going ahead and plugging it into one of the equations. So if I take that 5 and I plug that into my first equation, I would have negative 4x plus 9 times 5 is equal to 9. And this is just a simple algebra equation I can now go ahead and solve. So that's negative 4x plus 45 is equal to 9. I'll subtract 45 on both sides to get that is negative 4x is equal to negative 36. And if I divide both sides by negative 4, I'm going to see that x is equal to 9. So I've got x equals 9, I've got y is equal to 5, and I've gone ahead, I've solved that system of equations. All right, now this front side, it goes ahead, it guides you step by step exactly what you're supposed to do. Let's go ahead, let's put those steps together now as we take a look at some examples on the back side. So this first one, notice that my x's and my y's, they are stacked up already together. The number is on the side by itself. I'm looking for opposite coefficients. same number, different sign. Well, 8 and -3, those are not the same number. 1 and 1 in front of the y's, those are, but I need one of them to be negative. I can go ahead and I can do that by multiplying through one of these equations by a -1. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to rewrite that first equation. That's 8x plus y is equal to -16. And then that second equation, if I multiply through by a -1, I have that is 3x minus y is equal to 5. I'm now going to go ahead, I'm going to add down. 8x and 3x will give me 11x. Y plus a -y, notice that those cancel out. And then on the other side, -16 plus 5 is going to give me a -11. I'm going to divide both sides by 11. And I'll see that x is equal to -1. So I've solved for one variable. I need to go ahead and solve for the other. To do that, I'm going to plug it back into one of the equations. It does not make a difference which equation you go ahead, you plug it into. You just need to choose one. I typically go ahead and choose the first one. So 8 times x, which is -1, so 8 times -1, plus y is equal to -16. That's -8 plus y is equal to -16. And if I go ahead and I add 8 on both sides, I'm going to see that y is equal to -8. So the solution to this system, x is equal to -1, y is equal to -8. Let's go ahead, let's try the second one. Now as I'm looking at this second problem here, I'm noticing that the x's and the y's, they're not stacked up nicely in that first equation. I need to take this 6x and I need to move it to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 6x on both sides. And I'm going to rewrite that equation. I've got -6x plus 5y is equal to 1. And then I'm seeing that the second equation already has the x's and the y's already in the correct spot. So I'm just going to put that right below it. 6x plus 4y is equal to a -10. All right, I'm looking for opposite coefficients, and I see on the x's I have that. I have 6 and a -6, which means I can go ahead, I can add them together. When I do that, the x's cancel out. 5y and 4y is going to give me 9y. 1 and -10 is going to give me a -9. And then if I divide both sides by 9, I'm going to see that y is equal to -1. Now I want to be able to figure out what x is going to be equal to. So I'm going to take that -1, I'm going to plug it into one of the equations. Plugging it into this first one here, I have -6x plus 5 times -1 is equal to 1. That's -6x minus 5 is equal to 1. I can add 5 on both sides, which will give me -6x is equal to 6. And if I divide both sides by -6, I'll see that x is equal to -1. So x is -1 and y is equal to -1 as well. All right, let's keep on going here. Let's take a look at number 3. Now number 3, this first equation, I see the x and the y nicely on the left. However, the second equation, I need to move that 4y over. So I'm going to do that by adding 4y on both sides. I'm going to rewrite the first equation. That is 4x minus 5y is equal to -17. And then my second equation, 3x plus 4y is equal to 26. I need opposite coefficients. Same number, different sign. I don't have that on the x's. I don't have that on the y's. And as I look here, I can't easily turn a 3 into a 4 or a 4 into a 5, which means I'm going to have to go ahead and multiply both equations by something. I'm going to choose here to get rid of the x's. So I'm going to multiply that first equation through by a 3 and the second equation through by a -4. Notice all I had to do there is kind of flip-flop where those coefficients were going, and I needed to make sure that one of them was going to be negative. Now when I multiply through by the 3, that first equation changes into 12x minus 15y is going to be equal to negative 51. And the second equation turns into negative 12x minus 16y is equal to negative 104. I have those opposite coefficients, so I'm going to go ahead and add down. My x's cancel, and I have negative 31y is equal to negative 155. Now I'm going to divide both sides by negative 31, and I'm going to see that y is equal to 5. Now if y is equal to 5, I can easily go ahead and figure out what x is by just plugging that y right on into one of the equations. So I've got 4x minus 5 times 5 is equal to negative 17. That's 4x minus 25 is equal to negative 17. I'm going to add 25 on both sides, which will make 4x equal to 8. And if I divide both sides by 4, I've got x to be equal to 2. So x is 2 and y is 5. Let's go ahead, let's try this last problem. Notice with number 4, the x and the y, they're already on the left side for the first equation. Same thing with the second equation, x and y, they're nicely stacked. The numbers are on the other side. I'm looking for opposite coefficients here. I don't have any. I can choose to try to get rid of the x's, or I can choose to get rid of the y's. I feel like I've gotten rid of the x's a whole bunch here, so how about for this next or this last one here, I try to get rid of the y's. I'm going to multiply that first equation through by a 2. If I do that, I come up with 6x plus 2y is equal to 16. My second equation, if I rewrite it, I have x minus 2y is equal to 12. Take a look at the y's. I now have opposite coefficients. So when I go ahead and add them together, 6x and x is going to give me 7x. The y's will cancel, and that's going to be equal to 28. If I divide both sides by 7, I get x to be equal to 4. Now once x is equal to 4, I can go ahead, I can plug it back into either equation and figure out what y is going to be equal to. I'm going to plug it into the second equation here, and let's go ahead, let's see what happens. I have 4 minus 2y is equal to 12. So subtracting 4, that is negative 2y is equal to 8. And if I divide both sides by a negative 2, we've got y to be equal to negative 4. So x is 4 and y is negative 4. Now again, this was a review on how we go ahead and how we solve a system of equations by elimination. Del Zadi is done for today. I will see you in class.